Now, on with the show.
They had so many great ones before that. Just because you do one terrible tone-deaf one that everybody hates means that you give up entirely? That's what I don't get. Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown. I am Kevin Lieber. With me, as always, is Matthew Tabor, and we are doing an emergency podcast, quick and dirty, audio only, because, Matt, the great YouTube purge is upon us.
It is a dark day, isn't it? A dark day in the annals of the YouTubes.
It's super weird. It's something that people have always kind of worried about. There were rumblings about going all the way back to the adpocalypse, but just now, this morning, I woke up to iDubbbz having his Leafy Content Cop video removed. I mean, removed. It's just gone. And Just before we started recording, I think this was kind of the catalyst for both of us to say, all right, look, we need to record right now. We need to talk about this. Is Psychic Pebbles having his Fine Brothers video removed, which to me, okay, look, the iDubbbz thing is comedy. It's clearly comedy. Content Cop is a critique. It's criticism. There are elements of it that I suppose could be considered harassment, like particularly him making fun of Leafy's chin and doing pin the chin on Leafy in public. I see it. But man, Psychic Pebbles animation criticizing the Fine Bros, I don't see it. I see that as purely satirical commentary and criticism. To call that bullying is insane.
It is insane. And you mentioned commentary. That's really the issue here. Is it's impossible to tell when commentary and critique ends and harassment begins. It's so vague in everything that's written. There's nothing useful when you look at the paragraphs. Excuse me. If you look at the paragraphs that YouTube wrote up about this, it's utterly meaningless. You cannot tell where a line is going to get drawn or why it's going to get drawn.
No, and that's something that obviously we've talked about a little bit in the past, but now it's rearing its ugly head in a very, very real way where, it's just subjective. It's just up to whoever the benevolent leaders at YouTube are who get to decide, who get to flick a switch to determine that something needs to be removed, that this monument of YouTube we're going to tear down because it's no longer allowed.
It's strange that it goes beyond demonetization, right? That it goes to that straight up removal of a video, that we will not host this content. And I really don't understand it. I don't think it can go well at all from here. I mean, I should be able to make a video on why Vsauce 2 sucks, okay? I should be able to open up a YouTube channel and say, I don't like Kevin's last 5 videos. To be honest, I don't like Kevin. I don't like the format, whatever it is. Why shouldn't I be able to say that?
Well, especially, because the other thing I was thinking of is in terms of being a public figure, because there are certainly different rules that apply to the criticism of a public figure as opposed to the criticism of a private citizen. And that line seems weird as well, where it's like, okay, if I make a YouTube video saying the guy that runs the deli down the street from me is a jerk and no one should shop at his deli, is that okay? I mean, compared to, you criticizing Vsauce 2, which clearly has a much larger presence and is, purposefully on the platform and putting myself out there. I mean, I guess there's a distinction to be made there, but like, for instance, with Psychic Pebble's video criticizing the Fine Bros, it's like he was punching up. You hear that term, like punching up, punching down. Like he was criticizing this massive, massive operation of YouTube for something that was worthy of criticism. And again, where and how do you draw the line on what is harassment as opposed to valid critique?
What really confuses me here is that I think of YouTube channels and videos the same way I think of any show on TV, okay? If I made a video about why I didn't like The Mandalorian, okay? Or just any popular show, and I gave all my reasons, I did the full rundown of this. What's the difference between that video and saying, I think Leafy sucks, I think Vsauce 2 sucks? What's the difference there? I don't think there is a difference at all, but nobody would think it's harassment. Like, if I make this Mandalorian video, it's like, oh, why are you harassing Disney Plus? Nobody would think that. That's insane.
It is.
What is the difference?
I don't know. I don't know what the difference is, but I agree with you that going so far as to just remove the videos rather than, like just demonetizing it or not running ads on it, because that's a big difference to say, okay, like YouTube does not want to run ads over this content that we consider questionable, so that, we're not kind of beholding Starbucks and Coca-Cola to this stuff that maybe they don't want to be associated with. That's perfectly reasonable. And I think everybody, for the most part, would be on board with YouTube's distinction to guard its advertisers who, like, let's face it, fund all of this and are the reason that YouTube is allowed to exist and pay for everything from content that, they don't want to be associated with. Fine. But yeah, like just removing it altogether and saying, like, you're literally not allowed to upload this, and even retroactively deciding is weird to me on top of it as well. It'd be, I guess, one thing to say, okay, look, here are our new rules, okay? And starting now, we're going to be really vigilant about what gets uploaded to YouTube. But to go back and be like, hey, this video that all these people loved and caused no one like any harm, as far as I could tell, or is quantifiable, we've determined.
Well, Leafy really took it on the chin in that video.
he could have if he had one, but I guess he just took it on the bottom lip. But that's another layer to this that I find odd, is just applying these new standards retroactively to popular content.
It's strange to me that they would seize on a video like that Leafy one, which must have been, what, 2016?
Ugh. Yeah.
2017
maybe
at best.
Earlier. I know. That's a pretty old video, man.
Yeah. So of all of the things on the platform that are a problem, that they think, generates a problem, constitutes a problem, I guess, why that one? It's so odd to me that they would dig up something that is so old. Whereas we were talking about the spate of videos that have been criticizing Lily Singh, and she's a really interesting example with this policy, if you think about how it would be applied, because she's got a YouTube channel that's comedy stuff, right? It's not like it's all vlogs or something. However, it's really personality driven. Her brand is really personality driven, so it's about her. And she has this network TV show. So there are a lot of levels for legitimately criticizing somebody like Lily Singh, and it depends on the point of view when you're going to decide, is it a personal attack, or are you talking about the show's format, or how weird it is to have 25 people in a studio audience, and this laugh track got reused 4 times. I forget between what was it? Jay Aubrey had one and Drew Gooden had one, and I forget which was in which video, which elements of the criticism. But if I look at it and say, okay, this person is very clearly criticizing a specific piece of network TV, somebody else could look at it and say, well, they're just hating on Lily Singh. It's whoever it makes that call that on that given day is right, and that's a terrifying prospect, because you never know who that's going to be. And as they apply this more broadly and more seriously, the review time on these things, they're going to get a quick little glance. Just like with demonetization, you have some ding-dong God knows where in the world who is scrubbing through 30 seconds of a video and then giving it a thumbs up or thumbs down. Well, it's going to be that same surface level analysis as they get more broad on the application of this. And that's just absolutely terrifying to somebody who has a career or wants one on YouTube. And the nutty thing, sorry on the monologue, but this is so crazy to me, that it's clear to everybody, and YouTube I'm sure would admit this, that they have severe problems in evaluating monetization and ad suitability on videos. So why would you, after having like 2 solid years of outcry over how bad that system is and how ineffectual any of the changes have been to that system, why would you all of a sudden institute something that's an even more difficult judgment call? How do you think this is going to go well?
And a more serious one, just because removing a video is killing it. It's just, there's a finality to that you can't even compare demonetization to, because at least with demonetization, I don't know, you can still do things there. You can still, if you're demonetized, you can still do ad reads. You can still have brand deals if you're demonetized.
Yeah.
You can still sell merchandise. You can still just get your art out there. You could still make your audience happy and excited and build a brand. Or you have opportunity within demonetization. You have no opportunity if all of a sudden tomorrow somebody somewhere that nobody has any connection to decides that your video is no good and it just removes it. There's nothing. And
so,
well, I just want to say real quick, there's also 2 problems from the side of the people making these decisions, meaning if they have no context, like you said, to whether something is like satirical or like what the relationships are, anything, that's a problem. If they have no context and they're just making this cold calculation based on, coming into this thing without any idea of what this is, that's a problem. But then it's also a problem if they do have context, because then bias filters in. Like, bias will naturally filter in to any of these situations if they are familiar with iDubbbz, or they are familiar with Lily Singh, or they are familiar with whomever is involved in this criticism, because they're going to decide probably one way or the other, largely influenced upon that bias.
So what do you do now? Let's say, Kevin, that you have a commentary channel, and we both know a bunch of guys in the commentary community who all they do is make critical videos. And the ones that do the best and have really strong followings have very sharp, informed critiques. They're a lot more philosophical and analytical than they are entertainment. It's not just cheap jokes ripping on people. So if you've got a channel like that, where it is a Drew Gooden type, making videos like that Lily Singh thing, if that's what you do, where's your channel going? What is YouTube for you going into 2020? If that's your style of content, this happens today, what's life going to be like? What would you do as a creator?
I don't know. I mean, I would be really worried. I would be very worried. I would really want to rethink like what it is that I'm going to make videos about, and just at kind of like at a on a higher level with all of this stuff. What I find really weird about it is like you're kind of cutting YouTube focused content, like YouTube community content, like content that is about YouTube. You're cutting it off at the knees with this, where that's one of the biggest things that has happened over the last couple of years is that YouTube has become such a staple of people's lives that entire channels have been created and blossomed and grown quickly based upon talking about YouTube. Like that was not a thing
Right.
for a really long time. For the first, I don't know, 8 years of YouTube's existence, that was not a thing. I think a lot of people probably don't remember that. Maybe they haven't been like on YouTube. They're not as old as we are. But
Yeah.
let me tell you something, like making commentary videos is a pretty new thing. There were always like reply videos, you know,
Right.
where you would
Yeah.
kind of like reply to a popular video. But having a whole channel and brand based around talking about YouTube is really a pretty new phenomenon, especially as a popular phenomenon. And it's a genre that can't exist anywhere else. Like it's so unique to YouTube that getting rid of that, which is what it seems like this will do to some extent, or maybe to a huge extent, is such a weird thing for YouTube to get rid of. It's almost like baseball getting rid of fantasy baseball, or like the NFL like cracking down on fantasy
Right.
football. It's like this is a
Yeah.
whole industry built around celebrating and talking about your thing. And that's
Yes.
what you're getting rid of.
I don't know. I really don't know what these guys are going to do. And even if they plow on and continue to do it, you know how long videos take. And, you know, when they're critical ones, they take a really long time because you've got to make sure that the things that you're criticizing, you know, are accurate. You got to get that right. And like in the commentary space, somebody will, you know, talk to 5 or 6 people to make sure that, you know, this thing that they're about to say is accurate. You know, it takes a long time to do all that. Why would you engage in any of this time commitment? And that's not even adding in what it takes to make the actual video on the editing and this and that. When there's a chance that it's going to get wiped, absolutely zipped off of YouTube, not just demonetized, but gone entirely. What's the point? How do you proceed with any kind of sharp, biting analysis, anything remotely controversial? You can't do it. I mean, it would just be a waste of time. You would default to a topic that you know is going to be safe, in the sense that your video is not going to get taken down.
And not only that, I'm thinking now, what's to prevent someone who is a bad actor, like someone who actually is doing something bad that deserves to be kind of called out or have, you know, a light shown on their bad behavior, from just saying, hey, this is bullying, you know, this is harassment. This person is harassing me. Please take this down. How do you make that call?
How is it going to happen at this point? Fill me in on this. In terms of reporting on a video, like does somebody submit a complaint and say, this video is about me, I feel harassed? Does the community flag it? Do manual reviewers just decide to initiate a claim like that, a complaint straight away without the person who's, the victim saying I'm a victim?
I don't know. I mean, you already have, there already are flagging tools for harassment, but what boggles my mind is who's going back through the 10 trillion videos and saying, oh yeah, this Psychic Pebbles Fine Bros cartoon from 5 years ago, that's a bad one. Let's remove that. This iDubbbz video making fun of this Leafy guy who, isn't even around anymore from 4 years ago or whatever. Let's get rid of that. Like, these are very precise actions. This is not an accident. And I can't imagine that anyone has been going back and is like continually flagging Psychic Pebbles Fine Bros cartoon for harassment in 2019. That's not happening. There's no way that is happening. So it's not like that got like a flood of flags and YouTube was like, ooh, let's check this out.
Right.
It's like, no,
yeah,
somebody at YouTube purposefully went to those videos and got rid of them.
Well, I saw one today that somebody said that Ethan Klein was kind of consulted on, was one of the people that YouTube talked to in developing this. I don't know if that's true. Do you remember seeing that or not?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Well, a video that had like 1.4 million views, so significant, but not massive. A video criticizing him was one that got just removed today. I saw that on Twitter in the replies. So what, you can't critique one of the most popular shows on YouTube?
I guess not. I don't know. And that's what I think.
What can you criticize?
I don't know. That's what I find your like Mandalorian comp fascinating, because what is the difference? What is the difference between saying, yeah, like the new Star Wars or the new Avengers movies suck because that was made by a conglomerate of people, so that's not like a specific person? Well, can you make a video criticizing LeBron James? Is that okay? He's one specific person. Can you say, LeBron James sucks because of XYZ, and here's my 30-minute video for why, LeBron James is wrong about, his opinion on Hong Kong, or just why he's not the best basketball player of all time and Michael Jordan is. Like, I just don't get it. I'm completely baffled as to how you can possibly institute anything remotely like this in a justifiable way.
I don't know how they proceed. I really don't understand how they think this is going to play out and how they see it, like the actual steps evolving on the implementation of this. I don't see a viable path forward on this particular policy. They need clearer guidelines. They need better guidelines that say specifically what you can't talk about, what you can't do. Right now, it makes no sense at all.
I mean, you talk about H3, they literally were sued for criticizing someone, for making a video. Yep. I don't remember the name of the person off the top of my head, but, H3 used to make these goof videos on all sorts of people, just kind of calling them out and ripping their content. And one of them literally sued them over that. So now, why doesn't that person just go to YouTube instead and say, hey, remove this video? It harassed me, and it did damage to my business and to my brand, and it really hurt me emotionally and financially. Get rid of this video about me. That's got to happen. Why would that not happen at this point?
That will happen. if you just don't like something about you, you will be able to report that with some super subjective charge that, like harassment, I feel abused, whatever it is. And what can they say? No, you don't.
Right. We don't believe you.
At it and we feel like your feelings should not be hurt by this. You are wrong with how you feel. But I think of a guy like Coffee Break, who since about maybe a little before we interviewed him, he started really focusing on kind of gurus and kind of get rich quick scheme type people on YouTube and elsewhere.
Gurus?
Okay? Yeah, where it's like, using this system, you can make $10,000 in your first 30 days, and you buy into it. So he was doing things like pyramid schemes back, in the past. And it's in that same line of criticism where he finds something that he thinks is kind of scammy and does an expose on it. And he's been doing that with a lot of these kind of self-help business gurus. Okay. Yeah, I know that he's gotten a cease and desist and things like that. He was talking about on Twitter the other day. So occasionally one of them will push back and say, stop talking about me, right? But this mechanism makes it incredibly easy for any of those people to call all of his videos harassment when they're completely legitimate criticisms of a public offering.
Oh, that I'm glad,
course that somebody can buy.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because that was the hypothetical that I was trying to get to. Is what if somebody one of these gurus, these grifters, is actually taking advantage of people, is selling them snake oil or whatever, and someone like Coffee Break can come out and do a really well researched, objective, thoughtful criticism of someone who is doing something really shady.
Yeah.
And now the shady person can just say, harassment. Ugh, yeah, you are harassing me and you're, doing damage to me emotionally and financially. Please remove this. And now there's just no mechanism at all for anyone to even call out people who are doing bad things, legitimately doing bad things, not making jokes about the Fine Brothers, not making cartoons, not making obviously over the top, ridiculous, satirical, surreal cartoons about the Fine Bros, but actually trying to expose someone who is doing something bad on YouTube.
It's going to protect a lot of bad people. This policy will. It's going to stifle a lot of really good creators. It will shield virtually everybody on YouTube from any actual criticism of what they do. And what's so good about that critical community is that everybody kind of learns from what goes wrong. There have been in the past some really interesting and important discussions about certain sponsorships. You remember the stuff with BetterHelp. Phil DeFranco and Boogie and a bunch of people were in a bit of a mess on that. Okay, that was for about a month. People talked about the nature of some of those sponsorships and what the ethics were around that kind of thing and how YouTubers need to approach it. I bet it really sucked to be Boogie or Phil DeFranco and have an onslaught of criticism like that. However, it was really good for the platform as a whole. It was a little bit of a watershed moment in how people approach sponsorships. It was, hey, we have to take this stuff seriously in terms of morality and ethics, okay? It doesn't mean that every sponsorship has to be, UNICEF or some charitable thing, whatever. But it was, hey, we've got a problem with certain things that happen here. because of all these critical videos, we will talk about what that problem is, and then we'll solve it. That happened there. Now, there's no way that will happen again. It can't.
And it makes me wonder, I'd love if, because I want to hear the other side of this. Like, if there's two sides to everything, I want to know what the other side is. In my mind, the other side being people who are genuinely harassed, people who are genuinely bullied, okay? Which, that happens. Did they not have any recourse before this? Because I find that really hard to believe. Like, you're telling me that YouTube, prior to this sledgehammer that they are smashing over the head of YouTube, couldn't do anything about legitimate harassment, legitimate bullying, legitimate like damage to people, based on things like race, based on things like sexuality, based on immutable characteristics. Before this, there was nothing they could do? I find that very hard to believe. And if that's true, then that's a tremendous failure on YouTube's part for the last 13 years or whatever. It took them 13 years to be able to actually do anything about legitimate, like, not criticism, not commentary, not cartoons, not satire, not comedy, but targeted harassment of people and of protected classes before today didn't exist for the last 13 years? That seems ridiculous.
That was at the heart of the Steven Crowder and Carlos Maza thing, wasn't it? That what policies do they have in place, and how can they apply whatever's there to deal with a situation where you can make a compelling case that it was harassment. They didn't have a mechanism that made it clear for anybody, which is why that turned into such a massive event where a lot of people didn't know really what was going on at all. We didn't know. I remember talking to you about it, where it's like, well, what are they going to do here? Shrug. Who knows? Because it could go in any direction at all. So whatever they had, I mean, it was just so loose. It was one big judgment call, and then they've expanded on this by having even more vague language that allows for millions of more judgment calls. Like, it's insane to me that they would throw gas on this fire.
That's exactly what it does seem like. And even going so far as criticizing, because I'm thinking of criticizing like John Oliver, for example. Okay.
Yep.
John Oliver is one person. He is on HBO. That's a gigantic network. But he's one person. It's not criticizing The Mandalorian. You're criticizing a human being named John Oliver. Are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed to do that to the extent that your criticism, I don't know, doesn't like make fun of his British accent? Like, is that right? Like, you laugh, but It's like, is that too far? What's too far? I don't know. And it seems like we didn't know before, and now I know way less. Like, it seems a lot more confusing to me than it was before. Yeah, it's like somehow they made more decisions that led to this being more confusing.
It's like they sat around and thought, how can we make this worse? Things are really bad. It's impossible for anybody to know what they can and can't do. How can we make these waters even murkier? Let's make it more confusing. What can we possibly put together to put everybody further into the dark. And then, well, they did it. So maybe it gets refined as they have bad situations. I mean, but we see on Twitter all the time people with serious, bizarre problems with YouTube support. Okay, with their channels, they'll have a question that it's some crazy thing has happened with somebody losing their channel or demonetization, that it was totally invalid, or copyright claims. We haven't even talked about how nuts that system is and how badly it's run and how much it's abused. We see their inability to respond to a lot of those situations. They can't fix a lot of those problems. They do some automated messages, and if it does happen at all, it's going to take a month or two. They can't handle that. So this is much, much harder. I have a hard time processing it, because just everything that they know about what they've done in all of these other arenas, they seem to have learned absolutely nothing from those difficulties and failures.
What about limiting it to immutable characteristics, like immutable traits of other people? Is that enough? And is that clear enough to say, look, you can go after a person's ideas, you can go after a person's actions, you cannot go after a person for how they look or how they talk? I don't know. These are
tough to separate with a lot of people. These are really tough. We think of all the people who have kind of identity-driven channels. That's a really tough line to draw when they've they've got a channel that, somebody like Lily Singh, who's constantly talking about her sexuality, her race. If you were going to say anything about that content, you would be talking about these characteristics that are the immutable ones, right? You can't separate that with a lot of people. And so even that rule, it seems like it would be very clear. I don't think it is as clear as it seems like it would be.
Right. Yeah.
If I just ripped on, if I ripped on any of the Vsauce channels for something about how the host looked, okay, that would be easy enough to police, because who you all are isn't part of your content at all. But a whole lot of creators have put themselves out there in that content. That's how they built their audiences, because people identified with those elements of personality and culture and just all of these different things. To criticize their content is to criticize a lot of these characteristics. So I wouldn't want to be the one having to make the call on what constituted harassment or unfair critique, and what was just somebody making a video that happens to criticize a person whose content is about like race and culture.
Right. So you're saying in those instances, the ideas are part of those characteristics. Yeah. They're intrinsically tied together, so you can't criticize the ideas without. It's like trying to navigate a landmine in some way, where or the whole thing is just so woven together that there is no separating the ideas from what you would call like immutable characteristics or culture. Like it is one and the same in a lot of these instances. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And people have tried to have policies like this in other arenas, really famously at colleges and universities. The higher education scene in the U.S. Has dealt with effectively this same kind of thing for a couple decades now. Really kind of regulating speech in that way, has gone through some changes over the last few decades. But That's exactly what YouTube's trying to do here. And it's been a mess in a lot of cases where some really crazy things have happened over the years at colleges where a university will just decide this one thing that they happen not to like, or whoever runs the office of regulating this thing, they'll look at it, decide they don't like it, and all of a sudden it's a big scandal because they shut down some really nothing of a topic. Other places, it swung far in the other direction, where it's been, they've had some difficult things go on campuses because there weren't policies in place that really showed the community what it could and couldn't do. So anyway, this has all been done a million times before, whether it's higher ed or anything like that. And they were just like, oh no, we as YouTube will just do this again, having learned nothing from humanity up until this point. And we're certain that it's going to go extremely well and protect the people who need to be protected. None of it makes sense.
Let me ask you this, because I saw a tweet that was happy about this, that was really excited about this. Okay. They were like, haha, bye-bye drama channels.
Yeah.
Like that, this is awesome. Finally, YouTube did something about this. And all of the replies to that tweet were in support of this same feeling. Like this same, to the point where one person, I swear to you, even said something along the lines of, I wish YouTube would get rid of the First Amendment.
Okay.
So clearly there is a strong sentiment that there should be more policing, there should be more authority on YouTube's end to get rid of content that people think is bad. What do you say to that?
I think anytime YouTube is in a position to pick winners and losers, it's going to go badly. It's that simple to me, where if they have the power to decide on a really conceptual level what gets featured, what doesn't get featured, what gets removed from the platform entirely, it's going to go badly. And I don't think some of those people appreciate how that works on a grand scale. They think in a very narrow way. Like, drama channels cause way more problems to them. They cause way more problems than they solve, or, the entertainment of them is not worth the human cost. So getting rid of drama channels, great. That's a good thing. They're not considering any of the other elements on YouTube that would be affected by this. And to be fair to them, I get it. I mean, it's pretty tough to conceive of an ecosystem that's constantly moving like this, that is as big as YouTube. I remember at VidCon we were talking about, featured creators and how we who do this stuff all day and have for a long time did not know who a lot of these people were, because YouTube is just so big that we can't. You can be neck deep in it and not have a clue about like 99% of what happens on YouTube. So I sympathize with people not getting like a fully nuanced picture of how this picking winners and losers plays out in the development of the platform. I think it's extremely dangerous that they want to start, or they're advocating for giving YouTube or anybody else more power with it, and more, I don't want to say power because it is YouTube's platform, like it's theirs. That's like saying somebody has power over their own house, but giving them more judgment calls and more serious consequences with those judgment calls. It's even when it goes in your favor. Maybe you hate drama channels. They're gone. Excellent. Tomorrow, it may, hit you hard in a place that just something you like that is inoffensive to you, and useful to you gets axed.
And I think that the YouTube Rewind situation is a perfect crystallization of how out of touch YouTube is with making decisions like this.
Yeah.
Going back to YouTube Rewind 2018, the most disliked video of all time. You know, we did a whole episode about that last year.
Yeah.
It was so disconnected from the YouTube community that it rightfully got dragged through the mud.
Yes.
Worse than anything on YouTube ever has before, because it was really corporate. It was really cheesy. It was like weirdly preachy in a way that came off as disingenuine, and everybody hated it. So
Yes.
what do they do? You know, that was the question you and I had last year, is where do they go from here? They just made this horrendous YouTube Rewind video. Well, we got our answer. And the answer
Yep.
is they gave up. They threw in the towel. They quit. YouTube quit doing Rewind. They decided they were no longer going to make YouTube Rewind. And instead, they released a totally arbitrary top 10 list that was
A few different ones, yeah.
5 minutes long. It's totally arbitrary. It was like most liked video games, most liked dance videos, it's like, how did you decide upon these genres? Like, okay, most liked videos, I understand, but beyond that, it was like, and here are a couple of other totally arbitrary genres that we're going to slap together and then that's it. And then that's the whole video.
The end. Years rewound.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations. Now you understand what happened on YouTube in 2019. No, I don't. Nobody does.
The only thing I thought was interesting in all of Rewind, which I want to say this before I forget it, is that when they showed a few channels that started in 2019 and had like 3 million subs already. That was kind of neat. That was just a neat little thing to show that, yeah, in June you can start a channel and by August have 1 million people, wanting to see whatever your next move is. That was really cool. I think that's a milestone that I can't recall. I can't recall YouTube featuring that before. Really cool. Everything else was like an AI generated, loser approach, that it was like, oh, well, you know what we should do here, since last year was such a disaster? We should go back in time to like 2011 and hire a BuzzFeed listicle writer, for $17 and like a latte. And they'll come up with this YouTube Rewind in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, and
that's all it was. That's all it was.
And there were people who, like, I understand. So, of course, there was huge blowback. A lot of people hated it. And in response in response to that,
how do you hate that, which isn't even a thing? Like PewDiePie was doing his video and he's like, how do we even talk about this? What is there to say about a presentation of statistics?
That is what there is to say, in my opinion. Like, I understand the people who came out in defense of YouTube to say, like, hey, how can you complain about this? It was a showcase of the greatest videos of the year. It was a showcase of a lot of a diverse range of like global creators, which is a wonderful thing. And it was a total meritocracy. They weren't picking winners and losers. They weren't saying, oh, this person's going to be in Rewind and this person isn't, which is the long-standing criticism of Rewind, is that it is kind of, I don't know, there's some nepotism involved in who gets in Rewind and who doesn't. It's who, the people who make Rewind are familiar with. And that's a small pool compared to a lot of great creators around the world. However, my take on it was that keep doing the list thing. Keep making that type of video at the end of every year. By all means. What did that cost them? Nothing.
Oh.
Nothing.
I told you, $17.
It cost them $17 and a latte to make that.
Right.
So good. Keep making it. It is great. But as a replacement for what YouTube Rewind has been, it is not that by any stretch of the imagination. Like YouTube Rewind, until last year where they got it so badly wrong, was a wonderful time capsule of the unique culture and content that is created on the platform. You could go back to watch YouTube 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, and it literally is like opening up a time capsule from that year and seeing like, oh, there's like Freddie Wong dancing to Gangnam Style, or doing the Harlem Shake, or the Ice Bucket Challenge, or all of these things that were so viral and popular and trendy in the years that they happened, that it's really memorable. Like, I remember tons of stuff from those rewinds, and if I ever want to revisit what those years were like on YouTube, I can go watch those. What in the world am I remembering or going back to visit with this new format of a listicle? Nothing. There's nothing. Ooh, Minecraft was popular in 2019? You don't say. Like, there's nothing, there's no pathos, there's no emotional connection, there's no story, there's no narrative, there's nothing funny, there's nothing surprising. It's nothing. It's just nothing. They took something that I thought was culturally significant, especially within YouTube, but I think culturally significant to the internet at large, and just stripped away everything that was meaningful from it and said, hey, how about this? How about this like Wikipedia article of numbers of kind of arbitrary categories that we decided were significant for you.
You know whose videos I want to say that video is like. That it's just reading a Wikipedia list.
Well, Watch Mojo was the one that everybody compared it to, because that's kind of like the most popular version of like top 10 Avengers. Number 10, Captain America. Yeah.
So they started off this video by saying, kind of a weird way, weirdly like passive aggressive kind of thing that was like, yeah, most disliked video of all time. We're obviously so terrible at it, so we're just going to let you do it. It came off oddly to me. That set the tone for Rewind to just suck. I mean, what followed that was terrible anyway. It was lifeless. It was the equivalent of like a room temperature glass of tap water. It was just the lamest thing possible. But even if it had been better, if there'd been a little more life to it, I think that they started off on the wrong foot. It wouldn't have worked out too well anyway, just with that strange intro. It felt funny to me.
I agree with you totally. Like, it doesn't set the tone to say like, hey, yeah, sorry we're terrible at this. Anyway, here we go. It's like, you know, the Cleveland Browns coming out to play a football game, and Baker Mayfield takes center field. He stands on the logo at the 50-yard line with a microphone and announces like, hey guys, you know, we've lost a lot of games in our franchise's history. We're not very good at football, but we're going to give it another shot against the Cincinnati Bengals today. Here we go. Like, wow, that gives me all the confidence in the world that you guys are going to play well.
What if you had a video that wasn't as successful as some of the others, and you followed up that video by popping on camera? Your next video is you getting on camera and saying, Yeah, you really hated that last one. So instead of Vsauce 2, what I'm going to do is just let you decide what this video is. So here are the 10 most popular math and science videos on YouTube. People would be like, okay, Kevin, I don't know why you need to be this butthurt about the criticism, but it would so obviously come off in a crummy way.
Well,
it would just be
the thing is, here's the thing. They did one really badly, okay? 2018, Rewind was really bad.
Yep.
They had so many great ones before that. Just because you do one terrible tone-deaf one that everybody hates means that you give up entirely? That's what I don't get. I was like, yeah. you did what? It's like, oh my gosh. It's like the Star Wars prequels everybody hated. So they're like, all right, we're never going to try to make another good Star Wars again. It's like, well, look, we still like Star Wars. Those ones just sucked. Why don't you instead do it better because we know that you're capable of that?
Yeah, I actually hadn't thought of it this way, but they really did kind of take their ball and go home on this one for having it go badly once.
Once.
Yeah. So you have let's again go back to, let's say this is Vsauce 2. You have 10 videos. 9 of them have been popular and well received, and that's cool. One of them, more people disliked it than normal. A lot of people said, dumb video. Then you quit YouTube entirely.
Yeah.
That's, according to the Rewind philosophy, that's what you should do. If you do something the community is not into, do the channel equivalent of just killing yourself.
Yeah, just giving up. Just we give up. I mean, that was my initial reaction. I think within 1 minute of watching the video, that was what I tweeted. I was like, well, YouTube Rewind 2019, we give up. Because that's what that was. We give up. After messing up once, we quit trying to do this. And while, you and I were in Japan last week, and that is a long flight to Japan.
It's a long flight.
So one of the hours of the 14, I just decided to mess around and write my own sloppy, rough draft version of a YouTube Rewind 2019. And
what you thought it should have been. Or here's a version of what could have been good.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Here's a version that I spent very little time thinking about that I think would have been a lot more entertaining than their dumb list. And
now, you put that on Twitter too, which, by the way, we do need to point out that you have a new Twitter handle, don't you?
Oh, yeah. So I graduated from @KevLieb to @Kevin Lieber, my actual full name. That whoever had @Kevin Lieber all these years was just some garbage spam account. So I was able to convince Twitter to let me have it, and they obliged, which is really cool.
So you, I'm waiting for the person who has @Tabor to expire in the same way. They posted one tweet, in early 2017 or something, and that was it. So one day I'll have it.
Yeah.
But you put this up on Twitter @Kevin Lieber, the script that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just a rough draft. It's barely even a script. It's just here's a really quick idea of what would happen. It's
like an outline, a concept outline, right?
Yeah, it's a concept outline. I wouldn't call it a script.
Yeah. So go through how you put this together. I mean, go through what's in this here and why.
Okay, so this was just off the top of my head. There are probably a lot of important moments that I missed. There are probably a lot of really important creators or videos that need to be highlighted that I missed. But off the top of my head, the first thing I thought was Old Town Road. Yeah. Lil Nas X, Old Town Road. That's the song of the year. Hands down.
There's no question that's the defining YouTube song. Well, no. Dude, Bad Guy's pretty close.
No, it's not. It's not. And here's why. Here's why. It's not close. Old Town Road literally broke the record for number of weeks a song is number one. It broke
you're right.
the record. I'm pretty sure it was like 17 weeks in a row or something. That song is the song that defines 2019. So I started there and I thought, okay, the YouTube Rewind always kind of opens with a really big star that's not necessarily a YouTuber. So I thought start with Lil Nas X and Old Town Road. And then the next thing I thought of was Cybertruck, which was huge, and Elon Musk's Cybertruck. And of course, Simone's Truckla, where Simone literally like cut a Tesla in half and built a truck because she's amazing and created her own Tesla truck, which that video has 10 million views, and that was really, really iconic.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
And it was crazy that she created a Tesla truck, and then like 6 months later, Elon Musk is like, oh yeah, here's my Tesla truck. Here's Cybertruck. So that's what I thought would start with Lil Nas X, the Truckla, and the Cybertruck kind of joining together as this posse of 2019 posse, and they're going to travel the Old Town Road. And the Old Town Road for YouTube Rewind is going to be dotted along the road, like along their journey, with really popular moments on YouTube from 2019. And you can throw in Veritasium's 96 million Shade Balls video, which was gigantic. You toss in, Dude Perfect. You toss in Jenna Marbles. You toss in James Charles and that whole thing. KSI and Logan Paul, which was a gigantic. The boxing match was absolutely enormous this year. So you just, as they're traveling down the Old Town Road, you start hitting all of these tremendous touch points throughout the year of YouTube 2019. Then you hit Team Trees. Team Trees was a gigantic thing, the biggest YouTube collaboration of all time, raising millions and millions and millions of dollars to plant trees. So you can go through that. And then Bad Guy, also do Bad Guy. Also do Seth Everman's cover of Bad Guy, which was absolutely gigantic. So gigantic it was featured in YouTube Rewind 2019 as one of the most liked videos.
Yep.
And, along the way, just toss in cameos of the biggest YouTubers from around the world in 2019 and do homages to, different really popular videos along the way. And also include tributes to Grant, the King of Random.
Yep, that would be nice.
And Atika, the streamer.
Yep, the Joy-Con guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and pay tribute
Several
to them.
People like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All of which is to say that there were gigantic cultural moments on YouTube that touched millions, tens, untold amount of people that should be turned into a narrative celebration like Rewind was in the past. And you just absolutely get none of that with the top 10 video. And I don't understand why. I just would love to hear from them, like whoever the decision makers were, who were like, you know what, we give up on we give up on trying to tell the story of YouTube, because that's what Rewind was. It's the story of YouTube each year.
Yeah.
Like, why do they think that's not valuable anymore?
It's, what it is Rewind is really a yearbook in a video. Okay. So imagine if your high school yearbook, instead of documenting all the things that happened and featuring some of the bigger moments in that year for your school and the people in it, whatever goes into a yearbook. Instead, one page is like, here are the top trigonometry averages. Here are the top 10 people, top 10 grades in trigonometry. And you flip the page and it's like, here are the top 10 students in biology. Here are the highest grades in English.
And it's just like a pamphlet. It's like a brochure. It's not even a yearbook anymore. They just hand you some brochure that you would get, in like a stand of brochures to visit like the world's largest ball of string. And instead it's like, here's YouTube 2019. And it's this brochure that just, gives you like 5 top 10 lists. And then somehow you're supposed to glean anything from that. And the answer is no, you glean nothing from that.
Imagine doing that and thinking the whole time, this is going to reflect 2019 on this platform. We're going to do it this way, and somebody will look at this and have a really good idea of what happened in the YouTube community over the course of 1 year. Imagine thinking that and then putting this thing out.
It's preposterous. It's absolutely absurd.
Can you imagine being in that meeting, sitting around the table as they decided to do it this way?
Well, it was a lot cheaper. They saved a lot of money because YouTube Rewind was very, very, very expensive. And this was very, very, very not expensive. But ultimately, I just don't get why they bother with this. It's just, if it's over, then it's over. If you don't care about, celebrating the unique culture of YouTube, then I feel bad about that. It makes me feel bad as somebody who loves the culture of YouTube and loves the community of YouTube and all of the funny and crazy things that happen, that YouTube decides, you know what? I had the thought earlier today where, in regards to this, where I thought to myself, have we reached the point where YouTube is embarrassed of YouTube? Or at least YouTube is embarrassed of YouTubers? That's
a legitimate question.
I think the answer is yes. I think that in the past, I'm sure there were, some YouTubers they didn't like, or some YouTubers that were really popular that they felt like didn't represent their values or didn't represent their platform very well. But I think to me, it is officially over. Like in terms of how YouTube feels about YouTubers, it just screams to me that they're embarrassed of what happens now. And they're happy to just say, wow, look, Blackpink got 500 million views. Isn't that great? And leave it at that.
So here's my question to you as a creator who's been in Rewind. Okay. They took a decent sized L on this one. Okay. We know that, but do you think that it was better or worse than if they had not done anything at all and just not released a Rewind? Would that have been an upgrade based on what we've seen on this one, or would that have been even worse to quit altogether?
That's a really good question. I think that, some people would say this is better than nothing. I think nothing is better than this. I think that I personally would rather them just say they gave up than to release this give up garbage video, because it's more insulting to me personally as someone who has been in Rewind, as somebody who literally has this podcast discussing YouTubers and discussing YouTube. Like, that's how much, the two of us think and care about this stuff. It was worse to come out and just, as far as I'm concerned, just take a dump on all of us. I just took a big old dump.
It was weirdly disrespectful, wasn't it? When you put it that way, and I think in those terms, it kind of devalued a lot of people who have done great things on the platform for the year. Like, it's kind of rude.
It turns it all into data. It literally just, that was the other thing I thought. I was like, wow, YouTube finally got their wish. and they're now just presenting YouTube as data. Like Google
Which-
finally is happy with YouTube because now it's just data and nothing else, and that's all they actually want, and that's all they actually care about are numbers. Yay.
They've been criticized for that kind of robotic approach to breaking things down for so many years, and then they made a video that proved that it's not only legitimate, but that's what they actually seem to want as well.
Yeah, basically. So I would rather. It's just so frustrating because a lot of talented people like worked on those rewinds. There was some amazing stuff that they would do with costumes and set design and visual effects and the audio editing and just the editing in general and the coordination of getting all these people together. And, from my perspective, I got to meet so many YouTubers. I got to meet so many people who I'm still friends with.
Yeah.
At YouTube Rewind that I never would have met otherwise. So not only was it a great collection for audiences to see these people together for the first time, to see like Rhett and Link alongside, Rosanna Pansino and Hannah Hart and Mamrie and Grace or whatever it was, that was great for the audience. It was great for those people too. I mean, it was a great thing really all around. And I think that in prior years, yes, there was always the criticism of you left out this person, you left out this person, you left out this person. Well, guess what?
There's no way around that. Yeah,
there's no way around that. There's an endless number of people, and there's not an endless number of time or money to fit them all in a thing. So I think that that's a valid criticism for fans to be upset when people are missing. But at the end of the day, it's, it's an impossible thing for YouTube. And I think you just kind of have to accept that, and that's okay. It's just the nature of doing what they were doing. But man, now we're at the point where there's just nothing to look forward to. Can you imagine anybody looking forward to this anymore? It's not possible.
No one will care at all about YouTube Rewind 2020, which is unfortunate. They've just murdered their own little cool thing, which that sucks. That's a total waste. I was just thinking back through this conversation. This has to be the most grim, depressing episode that we've done.
It's been a rough week, man. It's been a rough week. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to address is I've seen a lot of things on Twitter where it's like, why don't you just make your own rewind? Why don't you, if you could do it better, why don't you? Okay, I don't have like $15 million. Okay, like literally those YouTube Rewind videos were millions and millions of dollars, to begin with. So no one on the planet other than YouTube has that money to invest in something that promotes YouTube. Like, it makes no sense. It's like, I'm not going to invest $15 million of my own money to make a Toyota commercial because I'm not going to benefit from that. I'm not going to promote Pepsi. I'm not going to spend, not that I have $1 million, let alone 15. But even if I did, no one is spending that money to make a commercial for somebody else, which is what YouTube Rewind is. So YouTube are the only entity that can afford to and have the incentive to and gain the value from properly doing YouTube Rewind. So I just wanted to address that because I've seen that criticism a lot. And yes, you can make like a supercut video of like memes and clips and stuff like that. You can make a glorified supercut like clip show. Okay.
Yeah.
But that is not the same thing as what YouTube,
they were doing.
That's not what they were doing. They were making an original video, spending a lot of money on making really a showpiece for the platform that was wholly original and unique. And they gave up.
So we've got that. We've got the death of Rewind. We have, we have the purge beginning. Things are looking rough in the YouTubes here, aren't they?
It is. And I saw, Oni, I think it was Oni, both him and Pebbles both did some pretty serious tweets about, and people have said for forever, like, oh, YouTube is over, YouTube is dead, blah, blah, blah. This is the end. Like, that's happened over and over and over again. But I'm starting to see some people come out and really kind of say, look, this really is a lot more alarming than any other problem that any of us have complained about in the past in regard to YouTube. And
I think so. I
it's
think that's
really
legitimate.
worth taking truly seriously as far as even bothering uploading to YouTube anymore if you're somebody like Psychic Pebbles or,
Yeah.
or any number of these people who are going to be affected. Like, why bother, like you said? So, but where do they go? Where do we go? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because I can't imagine like Amazon coming out and being like, yeah, no holds barred, like totally like free, crazy, no restriction, no censorship video platform service. Here you go, internet. Like who's doing that?
Yeah, it's a bit of a liability, and the people who would be okay with doing that can't do anything at scale. They can't have a site that measures up to YouTube in terms of just anything on the scale of what YouTube is now. So there's a little conundrum there. Somebody
does have one though. Wang's been uploading to it. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Storyfire?
That's what it is? Yeah, Storyfire.
Yeah, a couple people have been playing around with Storyfire, and they seem to like it. Yeah. I don't know how. Sorry, I don't know how quickly they can scale. It's a fairly, from what I understand, a fairly limited amount of people on there. I don't know the numbers right now. I think Boogie is on there as well. I think he's tweeted about.
He is,
being on Storyfire. Yeah. So, well, it seems to be growing. Maybe Storyfire will be in YouTube Rewind 2020.
I don't know, but look, I would love to hear everybody's opinions on this, whether it's in the Discord, whether it's on YouTube in the comments, whether it's on Twitter. Matt and I are both on Twitter all the time. What are your thoughts on Rewind? I want to hear, because I could see nuanced opinions on that, maybe differing from those of mine. Let me know what you think of the YouTube Rewind 2019 rough draft that I wrote, if that seemed interesting at all to you. And on the Purge, I mean, if anybody's listening to this that is in the camp of, look, this is a really good thing and we should have more of this, man.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a compelling argument for that. Yeah.
Make your case, because I would like to hear it genuinely.
And I have a feeling too that, or at least I wouldn't be surprised if we end up talking about this again very, very soon, about the Purge and how it goes. Because I think, I even think in the time it's going to take to edit this together and release it, we're going to find out more information that we probably would love to have been able to talk about today. But I think in the next week, some people are going to take a real stand here. We might see some people just totally quit and delete. We could see more applications of this policy that might shed a little light. It will probably, though, be even more confusing. So I think that we're going to have quite a lot to talk about on this topic very, very soon.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if there are any reversals as well.
Yeah,
if there are any reversals of like the Leafy video or Pebbles video. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, well, find out.
We are all about to find out. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you next week. As always, see you, Space Cowboys.